Okay, so welcome back to the 10-6 diaries. So this is going to be quite a boring episode, so if you do want to skip it, feel free. I don't really imagine many people will watch the full thing, but hopefully I can provide some great information, as always. Not to gas myself up too much, but I'm just going to try and yap for 20 minutes about sort of training recently and everything that's sort of happened this year and my path to success, hopefully, later in the year. So obviously you see me doing a lot of sort of rehab training, drops, doing some slow strength. These are all things that are going to help with overuse injuries, which I am riddled with at the moment. So I also, at this point, my hamstring was kind of sore, like my right hamstring. I can't remember the muscle. I think it begins with an S, the hamstring muscle that begins with an S. For the life of me, I can't remember. I have a degree in this, so that's like low-key not ideal, but we move. I just know it's that hamstring. I'm pretty sure that hamstring muscle, specifically the tendon, distal hamstring tendinopathy. And I didn't really realise at this point that I had that, so I was still sort of training my hamstrings in a normal way, but low-key just my whole lower body was destroyed. You know, my Achilles, my right Achilles, my right hamstring, and then my left knee was quite sore. So I think it was just a case of like, you have one injury that's taking away from recovery, and then you get like more of these injuries because you're not recovering from the other injury, and it's sort of something that like pulls away at the sort of recovery capabilities because of the one injury you have, making it more likely that you're going to get like another injury. Essentially, that's sort of like a big issue with just injuries in general and trying to train through injuries, which is why I would really stress not to train through injuries and be stupid like I have. You'll save yourself a lot of, heartache and pain, and you'll just be able to perform better, which is what everyone wants, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, that was sort of where I was at. So this was like, I want to say this was like a month post my last competition, roughly about that. I think, yeah, it was like spring break week, so yeah, about a month. That's also Danis in the background there. Shout out Danis, he's one of the Remembrance Scholars that's with me at Syracuse University this year, one of the 35 on the Syracuse side, and I'm obviously one of the 2 Scottish scholars that was selected. So there's just been a really cool year, very cool experience to be out in Syracuse. Kind of going off topic a little bit, I think I've maybe discussed it slightly in the past before, but yeah, just a very unique opportunity that I've had to be able to study, and I've really taken a lot away from it. And again, I'm kind of like going a little bit off on a tangent. I mean, I feel like I do that quite often, but that's just the way things go, especially when you don't really script. I don't really script my videos. I just try and go off the top of my head. I just kind of talk about what I think is relevant in the videos. So yeah, that's kind of where I was at with training at this point. Just a lot of like slow strength stuff. I mean, John obviously is my coach, so he's very big on Jill Cook's tendon continuum. You can look it up. You can see sort of what the research suggests for all of these like overuse injuries and everything. And yeah, just like slow strength is what is best for tendons when they are in this sort of like overused state, in this tendinopathic state. So that's what I'm doing. So the funny thing is, so with my hamstring tendinopathy, which I think is probably going to be the last of my overuse injuries to heal, because so far, as I'm recording this today on the 5th of April at like 10 o'clock at night, my like knee tendon feels great today. My Achilles tendon, it even feels like it felt really good this morning. Best it's felt in like a long time, or at least since I'd done that competition in Canada. And then my hamstring tendon, it's feeling like better. I was able to do some slow strength like cable hamstring curls, which felt like good. So that's nice. I mean, still lightweight, but making progress certainly, and that's like the main thing. As long as you're able to like track the progress, that's like another big thing that I'm pretty sure I've mentioned in the past. But it's like tracking pain scores week to week. John was the guy that I heard this from. John and Isaiah, they sort of put videos out about this in the past, and it is just like a very relevant thing. Like, you need to be able to track it week to week, and as long as it's going down week to week, you're kind of in the green zone to sort of keep progressing, whether it is increasing the tempo of a lift or it's making a drop jump, altitude drop higher. something along those lines, you can kind of progress it a little bit more. So I don't really know what my path looks like in terms of sprinting currently. That's like the issue where I'm a bit murky, because I think with the hamstring, because it's distal hamstring, I don't think there's great blood flow to the distal hamstring tendons. So that's maybe where my issue might arise slightly, is just the time that it's going to take for me to get back to sprinting. One thing that I think I did mention in a previous video as well, pardon me, is that I've not really sprinted for a while, but I think it's good because it'll just give me a break from sprinting, right? I think I've been going sort of too hard with it for too long, and I've had all these little injuries, and it's really going to do me well to be in a state where I'm like healthy enough to actually run well and recover from sessions and actually like build upon training, which is something that I've not had the ability to do for a while. So I think all of it's going to be a very sort of refreshing experience. It's going to be like I'm sort of starting again, so it's almost like all my stats, it's like in a video game, you know, you can reset all your stats, and that's kind of how I feel, almost like I'm resetting my stats by not sprinting and doing all this rehab, and then I'm sort of starting afresh. So whatever I run post all of these injuries is going to sort of be my new best. I'm like going to be a new athlete, going to hopefully transition into some long jump training as well during the summer. That's like the plan. I think long jump is more where I am suited to, I'd say, like in terms of like jump height. Like I know I can jump quite high, I can run fast, and I'm pretty sure I'm quite good at converting like horizontal and like vertical momentum like at the same time, like getting a lot of height off the board. I'm pretty sure I'm good at that. Like from what I can remember when I've done long jump in the past, I was always like someone that could get the height off the board. So I think it should just be interesting to see how things go like once I add a full approach. I don't think 7 meters should be out of the realm of like possibilities within like my first sort of full approach jumps. I really believe I can be in that kind of range, and I think I could probably get to like maybe I believe I could get to like the mid 7 meters by the end of the season, potentially if I'm healthy enough to compete, that is. But I wouldn't really say that's again like out of the realm of possibilities. But I'll obviously have to, you know, put the money where my mouth is. Is that the right saying? I honestly don't know if that's the right way of saying it. I've maybe said it the wrong way around. Put your money where your mouth is. I think that's how you say it. But yeah, so I'll have to do that during the summer to sort of prove and like back up my statements. And maybe I'm being, you know, in a way delusional about what I think, but I just sort of like believe that I should be very good at it because of my speed, my jumping height that I know I've got. So it's just going to be a case of, as I say, you know, going out and doing it. I'm not really afraid to do it as well. If I'm like long and I jump like 6.5 meters, I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. But I do just believe in myself, and I think that's what you sort of need in sprinting. It is just sort of like a self-belief thing. You need the confidence, you need that like unrelenting like belief that you're going to continue to get better, continue to, you know, improve, adapt to training, and you just need to do everything in your power to do so. So like I think this is something that I've been thinking about and like mulling over in my mind recently. I've been reading some older periodization texts recently, and it's just the idea of like, I think to truly sort of reach your potential, you need to sort of like turn every stone. So there's probably always something that you can work on, like whether it's like in the weight room, like are you actually pushing as hard as you can, like every single rep. Like even for myself, like I use intent in training, but I often find that like the last rep on my sets, that would be the rep with like the most intent potentially, because it's like the last rep, so you're like, I really need to go really hard, but maybe I should treat every single rep in the set like the last rep. Maybe that's gonna provide even better adaptations than I could get in any sort of like other realm. But that's sort of like something I've been thinking about, is there's always going to be just some sort of small area. Maybe it's like diet, maybe you've not optimized your carb intake or protein intake or whatever for, you know, peak performance when it comes to like sprinting, you know, dunking, jumping, anything like that. There's always going to be just like small things that you can probably work on and improve, and it's just sort of like finding those things. And I think it's always smart as well. Like I always like the idea of like having like almost like a proverbial silver bullet where you're able to say, right, I've sort of like exhausted everything that I can, but I still have this thing up my sleeve. So for me it was like the idea of like, oh, I didn't use caffeine when I competed until 2023 because I didn't need to. Like, I was able to just get that adrenaline, get that just like pre-competition like hype feeling without having to take caffeine. So I was like, well, there's no point in using that because I currently don't need it. But then I used it in 2023 and 2024, and I didn't really seem to improve my performance. That's like, you know, a whole nother video. I think I've probably discussed that like a load of times in these videos anyway, so I'm sure a lot of you that I guess like watch this far even would know about anyway, because I imagine if you've watched this far you're like a fan of the channel or something. But yeah, the idea is just like making sure that you are keeping something up your sleeve for like later on. So it's like, for me, I feel like with nutrition, like certainly this year, because I'm at Syracuse and I have like unlimited access to food essentially, like I can go in the dining hall, it's like a sort of like a buffet style, like it's like a all you can eat buffet essentially every day, but you can choose like healthier options sometimes. I mean, I'm still sort of skeptical of the quality of the food. I'm very grateful that it's like free food and I don't have to like pay for it. But I'm definitely skeptical of the quality based off of like how much food there is. It's a private university and it's like not for profit, so I'm assuming it's somewhat good, but I think they change suppliers. So yeah, I've got no idea, but I try to, for the most part, I try to eat healthy with it. I've tried to really make sure that I'm consuming, you know, at least good quality foods most of the time. I mean, look, sometimes I will have like a waffle with like pancake syrup or like chocolate chips in it or something, but for the most part I do try and just stick to, you know, something like a chicken breast, maybe some like pasta with sauce, a lot of like veggies. Like I've really upped my vegetable and fruit intake as well. Like I'm consuming a lot of that. That's a lot of my carbs comes from like from fruits, from vegetables and everything as well. So I do try and eat quite well, but I think I could probably further optimize it. You know, I could really track every single last detail. I could make sure I'm kind of consuming the exact amount of, you know, carbs that I need to, whereas I just sort of like guess. I'm just like, okay, this is probably what I need. This has enough carbs, this has enough protein. I just sort of like guess it really. I don't fully focus on it. So I feel like that's an area that currently I could say I could work on that. There's probably also some supplementation. I don't take like magnesium, don't take any extra calcium. I think I get a lot of it probably through my diet, but it's like I could maybe add on top of that to make sure that I'm hitting it. I do take like vitamin D. I've started to take creatine again. I sort of go through, I mean, I've sort of like went through periods of taking creatine and then not really taking it. It's just like, I don't know, I just sort of forget sometimes, but I'm trying to kind of get better at it and get back into it, because there's also sort of neural benefits, because it's obviously like an energy system that the brain, you know, there's like neural pathways that the brain will use creatine for, I guess. So it's not just sort of like a, oh yeah, this is for like my, you know, big muscles or whatever. It's more just for, and I think there's actually, the research doesn't even support that it actually aids in hypertrophy. It's more that it just kind of helps with getting more reps in sets. I think that's sort of what they've generally found. So it's like, maybe I could only do, say, this overhead press for like 5 reps on this day, but if I had my creatine, maybe I could push out that extra rep because I have more sort of energy reserves. I think it's like something along those lines. I'm pretty sure that's what creatine's main sort of benefit is, but there's also, as I say, there's like neural benefits for the brain with creatine, which is really cool. I think the study recently, it was like 51% processing, 31% memory. I've maybe got those round the wrong way potentially, but I know it was something along those lines. So yeah, the point being that there is always something that you can work on and can improve, even if you're sort of in this sort of scenario that I'm in currently, where I'm focusing on doing a lot of like rehab training, this like slow strength stuff. And it is very boring training, like I will say that, like I cannot wait to be done with it. I think I have one more week where I'm going to really go on this like slow strength stuff, and then I'm going to start to try and do some other training, some more some more faster training start to like bleed into that sort of graded exposure, which is how you get back to doing the training that you need to do. You need to obviously slowly reintroduce things that caused pain before, but you make sure to do it in a slow manner that's not gonna flare your pain up too much. And then you track your pain week to week, so you know if it's getting worse week to week. You can say, well, look, this is probably not productive, maybe I need to go back a step. And I think that's, again, there's like John Evans has his sort of like tendon phases, I want to say is what he called it, and it was essentially like you sort of tick the boxes for phase one, you move on to the next one, you know, tick the boxes for that, move on to the next one until you're back to just doing normal training essentially. So that being said, I think obviously a big thing for me is like the hamstring tendon needs to be in a place where I'm able to sort of sprint. I don't know if it's even worth trying to do like percent efforts of sprints, like 80%, then like work it up that way. I think maybe it could be good, or maybe like speak with John and I'll see what he's saying. So yeah, this is me doing like hamstring curls, so you can actually see how bad the hamstring was. Like that was causing pain, and the pain was probably at like I think it got up to maybe like a 7 out of 10, I would say, is its like worst. Like when I was doing that sort of curl motion, it was at a point where like even doing just like a body weight hamstring, like not body weight I guess, but doing just like a standing leg curl with no resistance other than gravity, doing that was even hurting. So it just, yeah, it wasn't really great. But as I say though, my Achilles and my knee, they're feeling way better, like to a point where I'm starting to reintroduce some elastic sort of stimulus. I did some box jumps for the first time, which you will see I think in next week's video potentially. So this one I'm going to try and get out probably Sunday, I'd imagine, because I'll be driving back. So yeah, maybe like Sunday, Monday time is when I'll upload this, and then next week's video will be sort of my first like 1 week vlog thing. I mean, I've not actually recorded much footage for it. I'll maybe do like a little recap of my training just after I record the audio for this video. But yeah, I think certainly my direction that I want to sort of take training in for the next month at least, would just be working on my standing vertical jump, because I don't think it's wise to try and do any approach work whilst my hamstring tendon's in this way. I think just adding that horizontal momentum just might overstrain the hamstring too much, and it's just not wise to do that. Whereas if I'm doing vertical jumps, like I know in the past I've had like hamstring pulls, and I've been able to do vertical jumps like very soon after doing hamstring pulls, like standing vertical jumps. So I think it would be really cool to try and just hit like some all-time numbers on standing vertical. I'd say like 10'2" would be really nice to touch from a standstill. That would put me at like I think 34.5 inches from a standstill. And my standing vertical is just like naturally very bad. Like I'm not naturally a like strong athlete. Like I have to really, train quite hard to get stronger, but I can adapt. Like I adapt really well. Like my genetics even sort of like say that I'm like naturally not as strong, and I would definitely say that's right. My genetics are sort of more adaptable. Like my epigenetics, my genetic expression even is a lot better than, I don't want to say than like other people's, but it's, it's allowed me to adapt and to get like a lot better. Like I started with quite high relative strength, I would say that, but not like, I still wouldn't say I was like naturally strong. Like I was benching like 40 kilos, weighing maybe like 50 kilos body weight. I think I did 40 for like 5 reps maybe, so we could say potentially I was like close to a bodyweight bench press. But I know there's people that start with like, that are like way stronger, or maybe doing like 80 or 100 kilos at like 80 kilos body weight or something like that. So I know there is people that are naturally a lot stronger, but I do adapt quite well to training. So yeah, the long story short, my standing vertical isn't great, but my running vertical, it's quite good, I think, just because I'm more of an elastic athlete, so I'm great at sort of converting momentum. Whereas when you don't give me that momentum, like that standing vertical where you're more static and you don't have any horizontal momentum being brought into it, I think that's where I sort of struggle a little bit. But I do think, you know, you can improve something. It's more just like specificity. Like I don't really specifically focus on standing vertical, so that's not gonna improve if I'm not really focusing on it. So that's one thing I do want to do, is just try and really focus in on it a little bit and work on something that would just be cool to do whilst I can't really do other things. And it is like an athletic movement, so obviously I think it can only really, you know, bode well for me, and it just gives me that kind of like high rate of force development movements that's gonna, as I say, help with sprinting when I do get back to it. So that's sort of the idea that I have had with training. So I'll see how things go over the next few months, and obviously I do want to reintroduce sprints as soon as possible, but it's just a case of listening to my body, listening to the pain scores week to week, and seeing how things are going. But as I say, things are certainly improving, so it feels good to say that at least, and we'll just have to see how things go. But that's really it for the video. There's just me doing this like bench press at this like retreat that I'd went to, so that was nice. But yeah, thank you for watching the video, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. This was a little bit of a yap, so enjoy. And it's a very boring video as well, so my apologies.